And now for the motion, Michael Waller.
Thank you, Edward. Well, it's great to be here up in Manhattan. I don't get up here a lot, but if I have to go back to Washington knowing that you folks ratified Dick Cheney's views on Russia, I don't know what I'm going to be doing for the next week, but certainly Edward will have to change the lead of his article for next week. First, U.S. presidents since George Bush the Elder, President Clinton, this current President Bush, have bent over backwards to make sure that Russia doesn't become our enemy. We've done practically everything possible, from subsidizing their economy to looking the other way at a lot of their transgressions, to make sure that we don't offend Russia, we don't try to make them overreact, we don't criticize them too harshly, and so forth. But while we were doing that, we chose to look the other way when certain elements of the old Soviet regime regained power, consolidated power with gangster interests that took advantage of the economic reforms, and seized control in the form of Vladimir Putin. That is the former secret police, the Chekisti, the KGB, who have managed to take control of a former democratic experiment and turn it into a dictatorship. And any secret police system in the world needs to have a foreign enemy in order to justify its own political grip on power. So given that, it's the will of the Putin regime itself to have the United States as an enemy and to become an enemy of the United States in order to perpetuate itself in power. This was revealed in Kommersant Daily in early 2000 after Putin became president, when Putin's chief of staff and the state security chief Khrushchev got together and they decided that democratic institutions should not be nurtured. In fact, there should be a return to rule by force in Russia. And they recommended exceeding the constitutional limitations on the power of the presidency to create this dictatorship and to create the necessary conditions, not just in Russia, but in the near abroad, which is the old Soviet speak for the former Soviet empire. So there was a clandestine manipulation and oppression of political parties, of politicians. We saw the faces of one of the Ukrainian politicians who happened to run afoul of them. Another one of those politicians, Galina Starovoytova, was on our editorial board. She was murdered before this document happened. But another one of our members of our editorial board, Yuri Shekoshikin, editor of a very brave editor, was poisoned to death as a staunch critic of the KGBization of the new Russian government. This document was designed to promote Putin as the president and to wage, quote, preventive political action throughout Russia, and to plant KGB personnel throughout the presidency, throughout the government ministries, in control of the armed forces, as never had been before, and in control of governorships and administrative regions across the country. At the same time, there was no accountability or national reconciliation. So if you look at South Africa after apartheid, they had truth commissions to uncover the crimes of the past, or Chile, or Argentina, or El Salvador, or Poland, or East Germany, or the Czech Republic, or so many other countries that had been under a tyrannical government had tried to come clean and expose the secrets of the past and those who were responsible for committing those crimes against humanity. That was never the case in Russia, where there was a de-Stasification campaign in East Germany against the Stasi. There was nothing of the sort in Russia. So no one has been brought to trial, no one has been exposed or held accountable for any of the crimes of the past. And as a result of that lack of accountability and lack of national introspection, it's become normal among most Russians to be treated as they had been. And so there's no coming to terms with the past, no break. No denazification. Imagine having a free West Germany without denazification and allowing former Gestapo people to stay in their posts and even become president of the country. It's the moral equivalent there. So all over time, they whittled away at human rights, they whittled away at a free press and everything else. At the same time, this summer, the Russian government came out with an ideological guidelines for social studies and history for public schools in Russia. And it's a Kremlin-imposed guideline. Putin himself addressed the teachers and the academics at the book launch. He said, "We must not allow others to impose a feeling of guilt on us." And the Washington Post coverage of this event, they surveyed the social studies guide. They said it's, quote, marked by intense hostility to the United States. And the editor of the manual, Leonid Polyakov, said, "We are developing a national ideology that represents the vision of ourselves as a nation, as Russians, a vision of our own identity and the world around us, a paranoid, hostile, enemy-oriented identity." Stalin in these books is shown, for the teacher's guidelines in the Russian public schools, he's shown as, quote, the most successful leader of the USSR. And the guidelines on teaching about Stalin's crimes are so ambiguous that they're not even required in Russian public schools. And the last chapter of the history guidebook lays out a new cult of personality of the new Russian president. Quote, we see that practically every significant deed is connected with Vladimir V. Putin. So this cult of personality is being built. They require some foreign adversary to justify the repressive measures they take. Now, the iconography of the old KGB has been preserved. Imagine if after denazification in West Germany, the old symbols were still preserved of the Nazi party. Yet if you go to the Russian police stations, they have the sword and shield. That's the old Bolshevik Cheka secret police symbol. You go to the Foreign Intelligence Service offices, they have the same symbol. You go to the FSB, State Security Services, they have the same symbol. You go to the state prosecutor, they have the same symbol. So that same conscious iconography of the past, where the sword was there, in Felix Dzerzhinsky's words, to protect the revolution, even if it came down on the heads of the innocent. This is the type of system that Russia's preserving. You have an out-of-control spy services where corruption, contract killings, bombings, since Putin has been, was first state security chief and then prime minister and then president. The Russian military intelligence, which feeds on paranoia the same way it did in the Soviet times, that organization has not been reformed at all. Yet that continues to feed on paranoia, the paranoia in its intelligence reporting to the Russian military and political leadership, that the West is still a great threat. Organized crime is rampant in a country with a huge secret police system that could easily crush it if it wanted to. Journalists who investigate organized crime have been murdered, especially those investigating the organized crime in St. Petersburg, where Putin used to handle hard currency operations before he came to Moscow. When he took power as president, he stuffed the government with KGB people, to the defense minister, the first time in Russian history that a secret policeman had been put in charge of the military. Military reform has not occurred. In fact, the military is modernizing. They have an intercontinental ballistic missile force, brand new modern force, the Topol-M. They don't need it. We're not their enemy. They don't need it. Right now, as we're speaking, the Yuri Dolgoruki, which is the new Borei-class submarine, nuclear submarine, is undergoing its sea trials now. New ballistic missile submarine, more modern than anything we have. They don't need it. They're building an aircraft carrier fleet is in their budget for the next few years as well as a power projection force. This is not a sign of a country that's seeking to be an ally of the West, and every sign that the intent is in the future to have the capability to be our enemy if the political climate so declares. Thank you.